Okay, let's go to the NBA. Of course, we had All-Star action this weekend, but a huge story surrounding Blake Griffin. The big three in Brooklyn is now adding Blake. We're going to go by the numbers on Griffin's decision to join the Brooklyn Nets. He gets reunited with a familiar face, Andre Drummond. They played 548 games together as part of the Lob City tandem with the Clippers. But of course, we must remind you, this is not Lob City revisited. Griffin hasn't made or even attempted a dunk this season. And he hasn't made a dunk in his last 25 games. If you go back to 2019, 448 players have made at least a dunk in that span.
That's just wild.
Right? Like, that's what he's
crazy.
known for. And Griffin shot just 35.8% from the field over the last couple of seasons. That ranks 268 out of the 269 players that have at least 400 field goal attempts. It's also worth noting, he's only played 38 games the last couple of seasons. Of course, some of that is because of injuries. We say hello to NBA reporter Brian Windhorst, who's joining us now. I read the numbers, Wendy. You know it. I mean, Blake doesn't dunk anymore, and his numbers have fallen off dramatically. But why do you think he's a gift for the Nets anyway?
You know, now, Elle, on the back page of the New York tabloids today, they were displaying this like this was a star player joining the Nets. And Blake just isn't a star player anymore. But he understands that. And when he selected the Nets over the other teams that were after him, because he knew he was going to have a limited role that he felt he could fill, which is as a big man who can play either power forward or center and switch on defense, which is the way that they are playing and way they have been excelling over the last 6 to 7 weeks as they've really come together as a team. And look, they could have signed him to over $5 million. They had that money available, but he took a minimum contract of just over $1 million. That's because his role is going to be limited. And the truth is, if Blake Griffin helps the Nets win even one playoff game, whether it's in the first round or the fourth round, he will have made this signing huge, and that's a low standard, and the Nets and Blake believe he can easily clear that.
Look, we saw it as recently as this last year, someone that was a former superstar, had some diminishing ability, but were able to join a team as a role player and win a championship. I'm talking to you, Dwight Howard. The same could be said for Blake as well. Brian Windhorst joining us here with the latest on SportsCenter. Thanks, Wendy.
Brian Windhorst back with us now on SportsCenter. So what's the most important aspect to watch from this protocol situation now with Embiid and Simmons later on this week?
Yeah, Kevin, so I think this is going to be the story of the second half of the NBA season, especially after we get past the trade deadline. All the people who were in Atlanta tested negative 3 different times, including Simmons and Embiid. But they weren't able to play, and their status for the rest of this week is up in the air because of contact tracing. Contact tracing has shut down numerous teams already this season. And Adam Silver said over the weekend that if players get the vaccine, according to CDC guidelines, they would no longer have to be in contact tracing. And that is going to be a big push from the league to the players to get the vaccine because it would eliminate what happened to Embiid and Simmons. And certainly, it's not that big of a deal in an All-Star game. It would be a huge deal in the playoffs. But it is clear that the players are way on the fence on this. LeBron James was asked about this yesterday, and he took a pass. This is a guy who's been a vocal leader in so many different things during his career, leading other players. He said, I'm not going to discuss this. This is a private matter. And that's the way a lot of players are going to take this. And I think the NBA and the Players Union and the players themselves negotiating to figure out how many will take this vaccine could determine how the second half of this season plays out.
Okay, that is no doubt a story we will continue to follow here in the coming weeks and months on SportsCenter. Earlier on this show, we spoke to you about Blake Griffin officially joining the Nets. So what's going on with the next big name that could be on the move? How about Cavs center Andre Drummond and his future?
So the Cavs have told teams that have called that they are not giving him away. They said that they've had legitimate offers for him, and they are holding out getting a draft pick or another young player for him, most likely a second-round pick. Now, a year ago, the Cavs picked him up for a second-round pick, and I think that's what they're hoping to trade him for. The reality is, they're going to hold out hope all the way until 3 o'clock in the afternoon on March 25th. If they don't find a deal for Drummond, then he would likely be bought out. The Cavs are playing hardball in talks right now.
Okay, we will see how this continues to play out leading up to the deadline when it comes to trades. Brian Windhorst, the very latest from around the NBA.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.